The text came through at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Hope you're not too upset, but Mom and Dad agree it makes more sense. Love you, sis. I stared at my phone for exactly 90 seconds before responding with a single heart emoji. Then I opened a new note on my phone, titled it Meredith, and began making a list. Let me back up. My name is Charlotte, and I'm 31 years old. My sister Meredith is 28, and she has been the sun around which my family orbits for as long as I can remember. I was the practice child, the one my parents made their mistakes on, the one who was expected to be grateful for whatever scraps of attention fell her way. Meredith was the miracle baby, born after 2 miscarriages, golden-haired and perfect and destined, apparently, to have everything I'd ever wanted. I got engaged to Daniel in October of last year. We'd been together for 4 years, lived together for 2, and when he proposed at the little Italian restaurant where we had our first date, I felt like maybe, finally, something in my life was going to be mine and mine alone. We set the date for September 14th of this year. We booked the venue 3 weeks after the engagement, a restored Victorian mansion called Thornwood Estate that I'd been obsessed with since I was 19 and attended a friend's older sister's wedding there. The deposit was $8,500. We paid it in full. Meredith got engaged in January to a guy named Kyle she'd been dating for 7 months. I met Kyle twice before the engagement. He seemed nice enough, worked in pharmaceutical sales, had good teeth, laughed too loud at his own jokes. Meredith told me they were soulmates and that she'd never felt this way before, which was exactly what she'd said about the previous 4 boyfriends. I was genuinely happy for her. I want you to understand that. Despite everything, despite a lifetime of being second best, I still loved my sister. I still wanted good things for her. I just also wanted one single thing that was mine. The trouble started at Easter dinner. Mom asked Meredith about wedding planning, and Meredith sighed dramatically and said they were struggling to find a venue that spoke to them. She said every place was either too modern or too rustic, or too far or too expensive. What about Thornwood? Mom suggested. Charlotte's venue is beautiful. It really is, Meredith agreed, looking at me with those big blue eyes. But I'm sure it's booked. Charlotte got so lucky snagging it. It might be worth checking, Dad said. Different dates and all. I felt something cold settle in my stomach, but I told myself I was being paranoid. Meredith wouldn't do that, even she had limits. 3 weeks later, I got a call from the venue coordinator at Thornwood. Her name was Patricia, and she sounded uncomfortable. I'm so sorry to bother you, Charlotte, but I wanted to give you a courtesy call. Your mother reached out to us about hosting another event on your date. She said there had been a family discussion about combining the weddings. I actually laughed. I'm sorry, what? She mentioned that you and your sister had decided to have a double wedding. I told her I'd need to confirm with you directly before making any changes to the contract. Patricia, I said slowly, I have not agreed to any such thing. My wedding is proceeding exactly as planned. Please don't make any changes to my reservation. Of course, I apologize for the confusion. I hung up and called my mother immediately. Oh, honey, Mom said, in that dismissive tone she'd perfected over 3 decades. I was going to talk to you about it. Meredith is just so heartbroken that she can't find anywhere, and Thornwood has that beautiful garden space that would be perfect for a smaller ceremony. I thought we could do yours in the morning and hers in the afternoon. It would save everyone from having to travel twice. Mom, no. Charlotte, don't be selfish. This is your sister's special day, too. Her special day is not the same day as my special day. That's literally the point of having our own weddings. She sighed like I was being unreasonable. Fine, I'll tell her you said no, but don't be surprised if she's hurt. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. 6 weeks later, I got an email from Patricia at Thornwood. The subject line was contract modification request, please confirm. Someone had accessed my wedding planning portal, the one where all my contracts, floor plans, and payment information were stored, and submitted a request to transfer my entire reservation to a different name. The new bride listed was Meredith Collins. The new date was September 14th, my date. The request was marked as approved by primary account holder. I had not approved anything. I called Patricia with shaking hands. I didn't authorize this. How did this happen? The modification was submitted through your account portal. Someone used your login credentials. We have a policy of confirming major changes directly with the bride, which is why I'm calling before processing anything. Do not process it. Do not change anything. I will be there tomorrow with identification to confirm that I am Charlotte Reed and I am the only person authorized to make changes to my wedding. Absolutely, I'll flag the account. I drove to Thornwood the next morning and spent 2 hours sorting out the mess. Patricia was apologetic and professional. She explained that someone had logged into my account, changed the password, and submitted the transfer request. They'd also attempted to redirect my remaining balance payment to a different credit card. Can you tell me what card they tried to use? I asked. She hesitated, then showed me the last 4 digits, 4847. I knew that card. I'd seen Meredith pull it out at brunch just 2 weeks ago, complaining about her credit limit. Here's what you need to understand about this moment. I did not cry. I did not scream. I did not call Meredith and demand an explanation. Instead, I sat in my car in the Thornwood parking lot for 45 minutes and I thought. I thought about every time Meredith had taken something from me. My prom date, who she flirted with until he asked her to dance instead. My college acceptance letter, which she'd hidden for 3 days because she didn't want me to leave. My first apartment, which she convinced our parents I should give up so she could have it because she needed to be closer to her internship. My promotion celebration dinner, which she'd hijacked by announcing her first engagement. Every single time, I'd forgiven her. I'd told myself she didn't mean it. She was just impulsive. She was just insecure. She was just young. She was 28 years old. She was not young. She was not insecure. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she did it because she had never, not once, faced a consequence. I was going to be her first. I did not confront her about the venue. I did not tell my parents what she'd done. Instead, I changed my passwords to everything, email, bank accounts, social media, the Thornwood portal, and I started building my case. Meredith had always told me things. She was a talker, especially after a few glasses of wine, and I was a listener. Over the years, I'd accumulated a mental database of every secret, every lie, every shameful thing she'd done and trusted me to keep quiet about. I started writing them down. The time she cheated on her college boyfriend with his roommate. The credit card she'd opened in Mom's name and maxed out without telling her. The SDI she'd gotten and hidden from her then-boyfriend. The coworker whose project she'd sabotaged to get a promotion. The lie she'd told Kyle about why her last relationship ended. She'd told him that her ex, a guy named Marcus, had become controlling and emotionally abusive. What she hadn't told him was that she'd cheated on Marcus with 3 different men over the course of their 2-year relationship, and when he found out, he'd simply left. The controlling behavior was him wanting to know where she was after discovering her lies. The emotional abuse was him crying and asking why she would hurt him like that. I knew this because Marcus had reached out to me after the breakup, devastated and confused, asking if I knew what he'd done wrong. I'd told him nothing, that Meredith was complicated, that he should move on. I'd protected her like I always did. Not anymore. The first thing I did was reach out to Marcus. It had been 3 years, but he was easy to find on LinkedIn. He was a software developer now, living in Austin, apparently engaged to someone named Jennifer. I hope this isn't too strange, I wrote, but I'm reaching out because my sister is getting married and I'm concerned about some things. Would you be willing to talk? He agreed. We had a video call that lasted 2 hours. Marcus had kept everything, screenshots, texts, photos he'd found on her phone. He'd kept it all because he'd been so confused about what happened that he'd wanted to make sure he wasn't crazy. He told me he'd never shown anyone because he didn't want to be the bitter ex who couldn't move on. But if she's telling people I abused her, he said, his voice tight, that's not okay. I've never hurt anyone in my life. I know, I said. I believe you. Would you be willing to share what you have with me? He sent everything that night. The second thing I did was contact Kyle. Not directly. I wasn't stupid. I knew Meredith monitored his social media and email like a hawk. She'd bragged about it to me, laughing about how she had all his passwords because couples shouldn't have secrets. Instead, I reached out to Kyle's sister, Brianna. I'd met her once at a family gathering, and we'd bonded over our shared love of true crime podcasts. I sent her a message asking if she wanted to get coffee. I need to talk to you about something important, I said when we met, and I need you to keep it between us for now. I told her about the venue theft. I showed her the screenshots of the portal access, the credit card number, the modification request. I watched her face go from confused to horrified. "She tried to steal your wedding," Brianna said. "She's been trying to steal my life since I was born, but that's not why I'm telling you this." I showed her the messages from Marcus, the screenshots, the timeline of Meredith's affairs during their relationship, the texts where Meredith laughed about Marcus being too trusting and pathetically devoted. "Kyle thinks she was abused by her ex," I said. "He told my parents that's why he's so protective of her, why he proposed so fast. He wanted to show her that not all men would hurt her." Brianna was quiet for a long time. "I knew something was wrong," she finally said. "Kyle's changed since he met her. He's anxious all the time. He checks in with her constantly. She told him it's because of her trauma, but it always felt off." "There's more," I said. I told her about the credit card fraud, about the coworker whose career Meredith had destroyed, about every lie and manipulation I'd witnessed over the years. "Why are you telling me this?" Brianna asked. "Because your brother deserves to know who he's marrying, and because Meredith needs to finally face a consequence for her actions. I've spent 31 years protecting her, covering for her, making excuses for her. I'm done." Brianna agreed to help. She was going to talk to Kyle, show him what I'd shown her, and let him make his own decision. But I wasn't finished. The third thing I did was contact my parents. I didn't yell, I didn't accuse. I simply forwarded them the email from Thornwood with a note. "I thought you should see what Meredith tried to do. I'm not sure if she told you her version of events, but this is the truth. I have not and will not be combining my wedding with hers or giving up my venue and date." My mother called me within 20 minutes. "Charlotte, how dare you try to make your sister look bad?" "I didn't make her look like anything, Mom. I forwarded an email that showed what she did. She said it was a misunderstanding. She was trying to help you by stealing my venue reservation and changing it to her name." "You're always so dramatic. This is exactly why Meredith didn't want to tell you directly." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "Mom, I'm going to say this once. I have documentation of what Meredith tried to do. I have screenshots, timestamps, and confirmation from the venue. If you continue to defend her, I will be sharing this documentation more widely. I'm done being the family scapegoat." She hung up on me. The fourth thing I did was wait. 3 weeks later, Meredith called me. She was crying. "Charlie, I don't know what you said to Brianna, but Kyle is freaking out. He found some old messages and he's saying he doesn't know if he can trust me. You have to tell him it's all lies." "What messages, Meredith?" "From Marcus, from years ago. It's ancient history, Charlie. You have to help me explain." "Meredith," I said calmly, "I didn't say anything to Kyle. I've never spoken to Kyle directly about any of this. Whatever he found on his own." This was technically true. Brianna had shown Kyle. I'd simply provided the ammunition. "You're lying. You've always been jealous of me. Ever since we were kids, you've wanted everything I have." I let the silence stretch. "Meredith, I want you to think very carefully about what you just said. I want you to think about the venue you tried to steal, the wedding date you tried to take, the constant stream of things you've taken from me my entire life. And I want you to consider whether jealousy is really what's happening here." She hung up. The fifth thing I did was the one I'm least proud of, but I'd do it again. Meredith had given me the password to her email years ago when she was traveling abroad and needed me to check something for her. She'd never changed it. She was careless about things like that, always assuming nothing bad would happen to her. I logged in. What I found was worse than I expected. She'd been messaging a coworker named David for the past 4 months. The messages were explicit. They'd been meeting at hotels during her lunch breaks. She called Kyle boring and predictable and said she was only marrying him because he made good money and would be easy to manage. I screenshotted everything. Dates, times, hotel names, explicit messages. I saved it all. Then I logged out and waited for the right moment. Kyle confronted Meredith about the Marcus situation a week later. According to Brianna, it was brutal. He'd done his own digging after seeing what Brianna showed him, and he'd found more lies. The SDI she'd hidden, the coworker she'd sabotaged, a pattern of manipulation and deceit that went back years. Meredith denied everything. She cried and screamed and accused everyone of being against her. She told Kyle that I'd orchestrated a smear campaign because I was jealous of her happiness. Kyle almost believed her. He wanted to believe her. He'd built his whole self-image around being the man who would save her, protect her, give her the life she deserved. That's when I sent the screenshots to Brianna. I found something else, I told her. I'm not going to tell you how I found it. I just need you to decide if Kyle should know. Brianna looked at the messages for less than a minute before saying, he needs to see this. Kyle ended the engagement 2 days later. According to Brianna, Meredith showed up at his apartment screaming that I had ruined her life and fabricated evidence. Kyle had already contacted David's wife. David had confirmed the affair. There was nothing left to deny. My parents called me that night. Your sister is having a breakdown, my mother said. She says you destroyed her relationship with lies. Charlotte, what did you do? I didn't lie about anything, Mom. Everything Kyle learned was true. I'm sorry Meredith is struggling, but this is the consequence of her choices, not mine. You had no right to interfere in her relationship. She interfered in my wedding, Mom. She tried to steal my venue. She spent 31 years taking everything I've ever had. When does she face consequences? When do I get to have something that's mine? My father got on the phone. He was quieter than my mother always had been. Charlotte, I don't know what's true and what isn't, but I do know that whatever happened, this family is broken now. It was always broken, Dad. You just didn't notice because I was the one absorbing all the damage. He didn't have an answer for that. Meredith tried to contact me multiple times over the following weeks. Texts, emails, voicemails, even showing up at my apartment once. I didn't respond to any of it. I'd said what I needed to say. I'd done what I needed to do. There was nothing left to discuss. She left a voicemail that I still have saved. Charlie, please, I know I messed up. I know I shouldn't have tried to take your venue, but I was just stressed and I wasn't thinking clearly. You didn't have to destroy my entire life over one mistake. We're sisters. We're supposed to forgive each other. I forgave you for telling Marcus about me. I forgave you for turning Kyle's family against me. Please, can we just talk? She forgave me. That was the part that almost made me laugh. She forgave me for the consequences of her own actions. My wedding was 3 weeks ago. It was beautiful. Thornwood Estate looked like something out of a fairy tale, all white flowers and candlelight in September golden hour. Daniel and I wrote our own vows. I cried. He cried. Everyone cried. My parents came. They sat in the back, and my mother looked like she'd aged 10 years. My father shook Daniel's hand and told him to take care of me. Neither of them mentioned Meredith. I didn't invite her. She found out anyway. I'm sure my parents told her. She sent me a text the morning of. I hope you're happy destroying our family. You got what you wanted. I hope it was worth it. I didn't respond. I put my phone away, let my maid of honor do my makeup, and married the love of my life at the venue I'd dreamed about for 12 years. It was worth it. People have asked me if I feel guilty. They want to know if I regret what I did, if I think I went too far, if I'm worried about karma or whatever. Here's my honest answer, no. I don't feel guilty for telling the truth. I don't feel guilty for showing Kyle who Meredith really was before he legally bound himself to her. I don't feel guilty for protecting myself and my wedding from someone who had spent her entire life taking things from me. Do I feel sad? Sometimes. Late at night, I think about the sister I thought I had, the one who would braid my hair when we were little, who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, who told me I was her favorite person in the whole world. But that sister was a fiction. Or maybe she existed once, and something in her broke, or maybe she was always like this, and I just didn't want to see it. Either way, she's gone now. The person she became was someone I couldn't protect anymore, couldn't cover for, couldn't enable. I heard through my parents that Meredith moved to a different city. She's in therapy, apparently. My mother said she's working on herself and wants to repair our relationship when she's ready. I haven't decided if I'll let her. What I do know is this. For the first time in my entire life, I have something that's completely mine. A marriage, a husband who loves me, a wedding day that no one stole from me. And a sister who finally learned that actions have consequences. The note on my phone, the one titled Meredith, that I started the night I got that text message, I deleted it the day after my wedding. Every secret, every lie, every piece of ammunition I'd collected over the years. Gone. I don't need it anymore. I want